Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello and welcome back to All for United's post-match review. I think I've probably lifted the curse. I don't host these very often, and we've just drawn against Chelsea. Who would have thought that? Got a great panel for you set up. Obviously, we've got Ben with us for the first time, so make sure you make him feel really welcome. We've got the others on as well, but come on, it's Ben's first time. He's a VIP. I'll come straight to you, Ben. 1-1 against Chelsea. Is there any positives to take from that?
Yeah, a 37-year-old who's probably going through one of the most horrendous periods of his life scores a goal. That was pretty much it, really. And obviously the youngster coming on, who I felt deserved more than a token 3 minutes. But other than that, no, really. I had this chat when I went to the Norwich game. I had a chat with my brother after the game, and I was like, you don't get on with most. You can get on with and fall out with people. You can disagree with your manager, not get on with the club. But as long as you're committed and you're professional, which should be a constant, given that you're a professional as a footballer. Marcus Rashford, I mean, I applaud everything that he did outside of football, but never have I seen a man not just fall off a cliff, but fall off Everest for giving what was supposed to be his all for a club he's loved and grew up with. I mean, I watched him today and he sold Tellez up the garden path, really, with trying to help him. I mean, I know Tellez wasn't the best today, but Tellez he couldn't win no matter what he did today because Marcus just didn't give a hoot, to be honest. And then he do that like pretend Peter Kay run when he's like, oh yeah, I'll close him down, like Roy Keane said. You can't coach that. That has to come from within. And if you don't want to show it anymore, then there's nothing a manager can do. Because you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Absolutely. Neil, do you share that sort of disappointment towards Rashford's performance? We'll skip Neil, never mind. Well, Blake, obviously there's not many positives. We won't go hard on Rashford because we know he's not playing well at all. Us constantly berating him isn't going to make anything better. So, what other negatives were there? Because it really wasn't a good performance, was it? It was a game we really should have lost 4 or 5-1.
I personally look at it and I think to myself, that left-hand side was where a lot of the trouble was coming. When you have got the likes of Rashford, when he was playing with Luke Shaw, that they used to control that left-hand side, we don't see that anymore. We don't see that tracking, we see the overlapping. The desire in the team seems to be at an all-time low. You have got players who are trying. You've got Ronaldo up top. You've got De Gea in the sticks. And, you look at it and you think to yourself, it's been another week. It's been another week where we're looking at what have they been doing on the training pitch. You hear the likes of Ralph talking beforehand about them being paid to do a job and trying to get in their heads and try and get a performance. We're talking in group chats, on Twitter, on WhatsApp. We're trying to be optimistic and give positive results. And yet they still keep turning up and giving not their all. They're not even putting 100% into their game. And it's not just Rashford. Yes, you could single him out to a certain extent tonight, but this is right across the team that I can't put my finger on one thing. It's almost like we're a cruise liner. You've got the captain leading the line, you've got the driver at the back, and everybody else in the middle is a passenger. And I think the season is just coasting. I don't see where we're going to get a boost until the season is done.
Certainly. Is it the same for you, Mr. Tunning, that you're sort of just waiting now for the season to be over?
The best way I can describe, especially the first half of that game, a testimonial. Pre-season, it's just that's the vibe it's got. Like literally, I was watching the game and then I just started watching something else as well because I got 2 TVs. I was just like, it's. Oh, mate, I don't know. And you know what? One of my good mates on Twitter, Devils and Details, Danny always says, in regards to Rashford, he needs to take a gap year of football. He needs to travel the world, go to India and have some mushrooms or something. Do you know what I mean? And just relax his mind. Do you know what I mean? Like in regards to him, like, but you know what? Saying that, Matter's little cameo, he showed fucking passion. He showed fight, and look how old he is. Look what he done in that short spell. Compared to that's what as Man United fans, that's all we asked for. Regardless of tactics, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes or what's in the dressing room, show a bit of fight. You know, show that you're a professional footballer on millions over, like how many years, and show us that, innit? Show us your quality. But it's just, I don't know, it's bad, man. It's actually really bad what's happening to Man United. And saying that, even though how bad we are and how bad we've been, look at where we are in the table. All the other teams, really, truly, like, whoever doesn't beat us, you're not really bad. Sorry.
Go on, Neil. The moment we've all been waiting for. You're a bottle of red wine down. I introduced Neil Burton. I do apologise for anything he says because he's got no filter. But the floor's yours, mate.
A little bit of a not safe for work. Just put that.
Oh, you're on mute. What an anticlimax.
I'm mute, mate.
Here we go. After the soft soap of you three, I'm now going to get stuck into this fucking club. When you say, Mr. Ton, look where we are in the table, we've got a goal difference of Manchester City's goal difference against ours is 54. 54. We should be looking down. We should be looking up, and clubs should be looking up to us. So, how many points are we behind City? 398 or something? Fucking God knows. And they might not even win the league. Right, so go through the team tonight. De Gea, keep. Dalot, sell. Varane, sell. Lindelof, laughable. Telles, I tell you what, you'd like to be the laundry lady for Telles, because Ian even broke sweat tonight. He'll just take his kit off, jump in his Lamborghini and fuck off back to his £5 million house. I mean, he's a joke. Midfield, Fernandes, we can't sell him just on a new contract. Ronaldo will be gone. Rashford, I want to keep him. I love the guy. I know there's all different opinions about it, but he has to be the future of our club. Matic, gone. Mata, probably in 10 minutes, did more running around than anybody else. Elanga, keep. So I pretty much get it. Well, De Gea, I mean, I'm still undecided about De Gea because we know how Ten Hag plays a different side. But that was lamentable tonight. And I've seen some shit from United, but all the worst performances I've seen as a Manchester United fan have come in the last 6 weeks. Now, when RR, or whatever he's, Ralph Rangnick, the new Austrian manager, when he was signed, there was videos doing the rounds on Twitter and on our WhatsApp group, and we've all seen them, about how he used to rile the players up just before they went out on the pitch. What the hell's he saying to them before they walk out on the pitch? Because they do fuck all. I mean, we're playing Chelsea at home, so-called one of our rivals, and our performance lamentable. And we got a draw out of that. If you were Chelsea, I mean, obviously they can't fly home because they can't spend the money. But they'll be going home on the coach tonight and they'll be thinking, how the hell didn't we win that game? They absolutely battered us tonight. Battered us. And we, well, apart from De Gea, we did nothing to stop them coming out. It was like I don't know how old any of you lot are, but it was like a game called Wembley that used to have when we were kids.
Yeah, I used to play Wembley.
Everything into one goal. I didn't see the Chelsea keeper for about 25 minutes in the first half. I could have played in goal for Chelsea. I mean, come on. Let's show some passion, for God's sake. It's
that first half was bad.
Pathetic. The first second half wasn't much better. It's pathetic. And Matic's interview after the game, I mean, it's beyond, well, I would say beyond words, but I know all the words. Like Donald Trump, I know all the best words. But it's just a joke. I wish there was 2 bottles of wine in. Anyway, moving on.
I seriously worry for the future of this channel. If you were 2 bottles of wine in, I think that'd be the end of it. Just get it taken off us.
Yeah, but at
Andy,
least I haven't had mushrooms.
they
No.
should have. They should have
So
had.
there's a show. Me doing mushrooms during a show. There's the show for you. End of the season. Mr. Ton gets me the mushrooms. Send him in the post. I'll do mushrooms during a show.
Fair enough. I'll put that forward to Ben, see what he says. But to contributor Ben, not owner Ben, I'll ask you. We'll speak about Juan Mata actually, because I think this performance is sort of it's been the same as the last couple when he's come on. He obviously Juan Mata's not really the player you get excited about when he comes on. But I can't remember the last time he came on and actively played badly. But you can't say that for anyone else on the pitch. So is it time, with Bruno's form as well, is it time we started maybe giving him a chance?
Me? Yeah, I mean, the one thing that baffles me is, I don't know whether if they're the exception to the rule of being footballers, is if you don't perform to what's expected of you by your boss, you're culpable in some way, shape, or form. Yet we go onto a pitch and no one's ever culpable to anything. You never hear about them getting absolutely rollocked or fined or banned for a few games because of how poor they've been for effort, etc. There is no sort of that's what baffles me the most is anybody else in the business would be severely reprimanded for the shit that we've been watching this season. Yet there is nothing. There is no the tolerance level for Ralph and everyone else is just like they can literally just take the rope wherever they like, and no one's ever reprimanded for it. And then what pisses me off with that is I've watched a lot of the youth teams this season. And if you're within the youth setup, I'd hate to think how you have to sell it to the youngsters about progressing to the first team when they're witnessing that, because they're working their absolute arse off, doing everything they can to progress through that tier system, and yet what they see on the pitch with all these players getting paid a shed load of dollar, I'm thinking if I'm Hannibal, I'm thinking, what exactly do I have to do to start when the players who are playing in positions which I would fulfill can literally have carte blanche and there is nothing to be said to them about it. I mean, I do like Mata because he's an honest professional. He gives his all. He's not somebody who will go out and go on social media plastering war and peace to the fans about how he's played. Yes, he's at an age now where he's not going to be the future, but he's at least he comes on and he's honest. The other people come on and they can't even be honest because it's not in them. And it's like, I mean, what would the worst case scenario have been if he'd have just played the under-23s tonight? We'd have at least seen something more than we saw today. All I want to see next season when I go to games is if players do not perform to the standard that's set by Erik ten Hag, but not just him, by being at the bloody club in the first place, you're in the shit bust. There is no grey area with that. You cross that line, you don't do something that's expected of you, you're in the stand. Klopp did it when he first arrived, and he was lauded for it. Pep did it at Barca and at Bayern when he was falling out with the Bayern president about chopping players for not performing in training. Yet our players, it's like the flipping part of the mafia. They can just do what they like, and if they don't, and if you take them out of the team, you're going to get whacked.
I completely agree. It's more of a cult than a club at the minute. But I suppose that's the excitement about Erik ten Hag. He seems like he's not scared to say it how it is in the dressing room, not afraid to drop players if they're not pulling your weight. But Mr. Ton, I'll come to you. Obviously, we'll stick with Bruno Fernandes because I think again he was very, very poor today. Talk to me about his performance, and then if we're not replacing him with Mata, is it maybe time to bring Hannibal in?
With Bruno, I definitely feel like the matter, even with my friends before we signed Bruno, because if you remember, we tried Lingard, Piera, everyone was getting tried in the number 10, yeah, or behind the striker. But Mata, for some reason, just wouldn't get put there. I don't know what it was. Oli just weren't trying Mata really in that position to see if he could do that role when he could. We saw him at Chelsea playing number 10 and how brilliant he was, right? So, but the age he is now, for the couple games, it will make more sense to go with Hannibal than Bruno, if that makes sense. But I'm going to give Bruno one more season, see if he can fit into the system and the way Ten Hag wants to play. I already have my own personal theories about it and doubts and queries because of what Bruno's shown me. And the problem is with football players, you have tendencies and you create bad habits in your game. I'm not saying those bad habits cannot get changed, but if I'm correct, I think Bruno's either 28, 29. It's a bit harder when you're an older player. And he's got really, since he comes to United, he's got a lot of bad habits and tendencies. So they've just, you know what I mean, gone up a bit more. And especially the way Ten Hag wants to play is, high percentage and Bruno's a low percentage footballer. We have to wait and see next season. But I definitely think for the next couple of games, Hannibal should get given a run at. I don't know. I don't know, man. Bruno, I actually was so happy when we was linked to him. And then now, I don't know, man. I have no words for it at the moment with Bruno, honestly.
Yeah, it's confusing. We all know how good of a player he can be as well. That's the frustrating bit. But Neil, obviously Bruno's not the only issue in this squad right now. He's probably one of the least problems. With 70 minutes into a Premier League game, and we're bringing Phil Jones on, and he looks when he comes on like the best defender. Is that a problem to you?
Fuck yeah, Phil Jones. If Phil Jones is the best defender, I mean, it's like if the answer to the question is Phil Jones, I'm worried what the question is, because following on from what my learned colleagues have said, we got a bench tonight full of the youth. What is the genuine value or vision in bringing on Matter and Jones when we got the bench, and then he brings a kid on for 3 minutes? I mean, seriously, that's taking the piss, that is. I mean, this kid, he's obviously a decent player if he's made it to the point that he's got to our first team squad, regardless of how bad the first team squad is. But he's come through the ranks at United and we give him 3 minutes. How can you judge a kid on that? I'd love someone to say to Ranić, why are you doing it? My issue with Bruno, Ollie slogged him to death last year. He played 90 minutes in every single game. Yeah, Blakey's not wrong, is he? He's never wrong. Told you, Blakey, you're all right. I don't care what people say about you, mate. I think you're all right.
I know, it's always, I tell you.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing. I can't be the only one that likes you, Blakey. So
they're few and far between.
Exactly. It's a good club to be in, though.
It's a talent.
So, yes, absolutely. But it's just, I don't understand what they're trying to do for the last 3 games of the season. I think Bruno, they should rest him. He was slogged to death under Ollie after coming off a World Cup where he was clearly too knackered in the World Cup because the Portuguese didn't play him. So he's not had a break. And I think him along with the likes of Rashford, so I'd bench Rashford, Fernandes. The season's gone because the players don't give a shit. The fans, when you see the footage on Sky, all our tourist fans turning up, and they're just happy because they've got a scarf around their neck that they just bought in the club shop, and they're sitting there giggling, and they don't even know half of them don't even know which way United are kicking or what colour they're wearing. So the season's gone. But what I can't stand is the fact that we've let the season go, and there should be some pride in playing for the badge. So you can turn around and say all you like. Now, I'm probably old enough to be the father, or at least a very old brother to all of you. But you're wrong. You're definitely wrong if you think we just want the season to finish, because there should be some pride in playing for that shirt. And at the moment, I don't see it. I do not see the pride. I see it in Ronaldo, but I think he's gone at the end of the season. And it's obvious all season long it's been in De Gea. So when it comes to player of the season, which is a really poor award to win for this season, I can't see beyond De Gea, because he has been 100% every single game he started, start to finish, 100%. I wish he was a bit of a loudmouth so he could be the captain, but I'm not comfortable with goalkeepers being captains. But it's just the lack of pride in the shirt. It's just the lack of pulling that shirt over. Us five here, imagine how proud we feel walking down the tunnel wearing a Manchester United shirt. I don't care what number's on the back. I don't care if my name's Prick and they write that on the back of my shirt. Walking down the tunnel, and they're getting paid six-figure sums, all of them. Six-figure sums on a weekly basis, and they are showing no passion and they're showing no respect for the people that are paying hard-earned money in an economy at the moment that is very expensive to live in, and yet we're getting 70,000 plus a week at home, and we are serving up dog shit. That's what pisses me off about this club. There needs to be more pride in the shirt.
Oh, I'm looking forward to getting back around to you now. But Blake, we'll follow on from that point. Do you agree?
Can I just say on that point, James, that sounded quite weird when you said that. I'm looking forward to getting back round to you. You've never been back round to me at all yet.
It's only weird if you.
I might need 4 or 5 bottles of wine for that, my friend.
Come on, I'm only 12. Behave. But Blake, I've lost my train of thought. Do you agree with Neil in that the United shirt, the United badge is being taken for granted by these players at the minute? And how do we reset this culture, even with a new manager coming in? Because it's going to be the same group of players, isn't it?
Well, I'd go below knee amputation and I'd run around the pitch a lot more than they're doing at the moment. You've got a young lad coming on for 10 minutes in one of the is probably the world's biggest game, Manchester United against Liverpool, and he's coming on for 10 minutes and showing every single player on that pitch what the badge means, what playing for this team means. And then A, we haven't seen him again, and B, he's supposed to be looking up to the profession, the seniors, and they're literally walking half the time. And it's like, I mean, going back to Mata, if we're playing against a low block team, I think Mata can do quite well in that 10 because it's his legs. He hasn't got the pace that you saw it at the end of the match. He was in down the wing and he had to check back because he just didn't have the pace. If we were playing against maybe like Brentford, where it's a low block, I think because he's still got that football IQ mentioned in the chat, he can still do that job. Long term, I think if he goes off, retires in Spain, I think if he can do something like coaching or an ambassador like Ji-Sung Park, because he has got a love for the club and you can see, there is a pride with him. I don't know what the fix is other than somebody coming in and saying you either toughen up and play for the badge or you're out. Now, obviously, the likes of Bruno, he's just been given a new contract. Very odd. They were talking in January. We're not going to sign anyone until we know who the manager is because we don't want to get anyone unless the manager says so. And then we go and get Bruno a new contract before the manager's even through the door. I don't disagree with it. He carried the team and, we know the qualities that he has. I think with Bruno, a lot of what is going on at the moment, he's trying so hard to basically kickstart the team that he's not simplifying the game. He towards the end of the match, he picked it up on the wing. If he'd have just taken a touch, controlled it, he might have got Ronaldo in, but he took that first time ball over the top and it was cleared. He's not taking the time and simplifying his game and thinking, if I keep hold of the ball, I can look, see if I've got any runners, and I can play the pass. It's almost like he's trying to do too much. But I think the petulance with Bruno that's come out this year has really ruffled the feathers of a lot of the fans. Whereas last season, he'd be shouting at the players and we were like, he should be captain. This season, it's all about the referees and the decisions that have gone against him. And he's got this side to him where I don't know whether it's frustration with the players, whether it's frustration with the way we're playing, frustration with himself. But you can see that he's not in control, not like he has been over the last couple of seasons. With Mr. Ton, see how he goes next season. I think we need just balance in the team. We need a little bit of calm where the team has got the right structure from back to front, where they know exactly what they've got to do. And if they don't step up, then, like I said, they need to step out, because there are players who will step up. We've seen it. There's kids literally knocking on the door, and we're supposed to be all about the youth. And we've got this rich history of having a youth academy player in every single team that we play. And I just feel that there are kids that are knocking on that door who would put more effort, more passion into their play, want the ball, want to get something out of the game. And when you've got people like Marcus Rashford walking around the pitch, looking down as if to say, I don't want to be here. You can see he's just checked out. And then it's not just him. There's other players who are literally, they're either already in the summer or they've checked out and they want to be out. What have we got to lose? We've got 3 games left. Next one, Brentford. Why not put some of the youth players in? I think they've earned it. Why not? Get some of these players who aren't performing out. Stick them on the bench. Tell them, if you're not going to perform, then why put the shirt on? When you've got somebody like Patrice Evra, like mentioned in the chat, putting out that rallying cry like a leader, showing passion that we are showing, the optimism, the desire for the team to perform. And then they go out and they keep doing this week after week, game after game. Eventually, the team, just like the team, we will check out and we will just go, what's the point? There's a lot of empty seats around Old Trafford tonight. Might have been partly to do with the protest beforehand. But I also think that there's a lot of fans who are just going, I ain't going. Until Ten Hag comes in, I'm staying at home. Because if they aren't going to show up, I'm not going to show up. And that's not like us. We fill that stadium regardless of how we're performing.
It's damning, isn't it? Damning at the minute that, United fans don't really want to. I know, I'm speaking for myself here. I don't know how you feel, but it's a chore to watch them, isn't it? I've never felt like that as a United fan in my life before. But go on.
How is it that we do score predictions and all of us, for the most part, predict a relatively positive result? We, as fans, are optimistic before the match, even though we know that we're probably going to get what we got tonight. We still try to have that optimism to say, no, we care, so they'll care. And it's not reciprocated.
Yeah, not great at all. But listen, it's very, very depressing talking about the game. So we'll bring this comment up and we'll talk about this because it's obviously a talking point today. Ranić did confirm in his press conference that he is definitely going to be with United next season. Obviously, that doesn't put to bed rumours that he's could be going for the Austria job as well. Now, Ben, I'll come to you first. Is it a surprise that Ranić is going to stay on? Is going to be allowed to stay on by owners that we know are very, very sort of self-centered when it comes to criticism? When interview after interview, he's constantly said, this club is a mess from top to bottom. It needs a real spring clean. Are you happy that he's still here after all those comments?
Yeah, I think it's refreshing. He's being frank, damning, and honest, because the thing I've sort of judged Ralph on 2 principles. Managing, he was never going to be very good at, and he came in with, in essence, nothing to go with the players at, because he was deemed like the supply teacher. So the kids go, yeah, you're the supply teacher. We don't really give a shit what you're saying. But away from that aspect, I actually think he's been a breath of fresh air, because he's basically saying what all we've been saying for years, but we've never really had a voice where it's got to the owners on a platform where people will constantly report about it because of who's saying it. Because they'll say, oh, the fans are saying this, that, and the other, and then it's sort of lost in the ether. Whereas because you've got the even though he's classed as the interim, but he's saying it on a regular basis, is far more hard hitting. And also the irony being that they brought him in. So they brought him in on the principle that he says he is quite a forthright person. So knowing that's probably likely to come, given how bad we've been, and he's just been allowed to carry on. Which I suppose, if you're Richard Arnold's really got. He's almost sort of playing with the devil, really, because he knows how bad Ed Woodward did, and he's come in as his replacement. He knows he can't be anywhere near as bad because of if with everything that happened to Ed Woodward when he was in with his tenure, Richard Arnold's going to get it doubly hard. So he's almost got no choice but to allow Ranić to be as honest and damning as he is. I think if he gets Paul Mitchell in, I think Paul Mitchell's a very good appointment because he's proven, he's got a good track record. He actually knows what he's doing from a footballing perspective, and we haven't got someone who's playing it like they're in Vegas on the casino. So they're actually making a decision that's got some logic behind it and some planning based on what they actually want to see implemented on the pitch. And I think he'll work well there at Ten Hag. The only thing that I didn't like that was with the Ranić thing was the Austria thing. Because I thought, well, as much as I know international managers don't generally do a great deal throughout the season because it's only whenever their national team's going to play, but we're a project that requires a damn amount of energy and effort to be committed to it. It's not like he's being the consultant for Liverpool where he could sort of do that on the beach, really, because they're such a finely tuned machine. We need to be rebuilt. We're not even we're just a sum of parts. We've yet to be put together. So if that Austria thing's been binned, then great. I think he can only be a positive because he's actually proven in what he's doing. It's not like we're bringing in someone who's the expert in finance or commercial entity, and he's trying to do what Ranić's doing. At least he's got something that you can go, actually, you know what? He's got a bit of credit and he's got some time in the bank to prove his worth for us as a club. And he's not just someone who's been brought in to appease the fans because he's got 800 likes on social media.
Fair enough. Well, Mr. Tunn, I'll sort of flip it on the other side of that then. Obviously, we know he's coming in, but it's only going to be sort of a consultancy role. Is that frustrating for you that we know how good Ralph Ranić can be, and yet it's looking more and more likely that he's going to work? But I think even part-time is going to be a bit of a stretch for him. Not going to have that much influence by the looks of it. Is that annoying for you?
If I'm honest, no. And I would say no because put it this way, the club there was a report last week. Was it last week? The club have another consultant as well. If I'm correct, his name's Mick Ford. If I'm correct, I might be wrong. He used to work at Chelsea. I think he's consulting the Glazers or the club as well, if I'm correct. So they have two consultants on the payroll. But I think Ralph is more to help with John Murtagh and Fletcher. I think he's more to help with them. But to be honest, it's not going to be that different really, even if he is, because then if, hypothetically speaking, and a big if, we get a Paul Mitchell, him and Ralph sort of see things similar in the terms of football and how they think. They think very similar, and that's why Paul Mitchell worked with the RB group for a long time. Do you know what I mean? He worked for 3 years in 3 different roles, and then he went to the RB New York. So they're very familiar with each other and the way they see. And even Ralph actually alluded to this when he brought him to RB. He even said him and Mitchell, they normally like the same type of player. So if we do get a Paul Mitchell, it wouldn't be like a big much of a loss because they think the same anyway. And having someone on a Zoom phone call or phone call away is not that hard. Because one thing that John has shown me is that even with the academy is that he doesn't mind listening to people with more experience than him. And that's why he's leaned on a Ralph. Do you know what I mean? So having Ralph over the phone, like, i.e. John would be like, this is happening at the club right now. What can I do? What should I do? And Ralph telling him, it's best to do this, do that. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? You have to remember, at the end of the day, for some people that might not know, Ralph was doing the exact same thing at his last club. He actually wasn't working directly for the club. So Ralph has a consultancy company, right? So that's how he was doing it. It was like an independent consultancy. That's what he does now. That's literally what he set up his business to do: independently consult and help football clubs reach their potential and help the coaches and directors. So technically, it's nothing that he hasn't been doing since he's left RB. So I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to these things. I research a lot. So
I think the thing I was going to say is, I think the thing where not so much fans, but it's mainly the media that jump on it, is because he's been given the title consultancy. It's such an open title, so you don't actually know what that means, and of course, everybody wants to know everything about what someone's doing. So because he's just been titled as, oh, he's just a consultant, there's no sort of then caveat to what that actually means from a detailed perspective, which obviously they don't have to announce anyway. But I think that's where I've read, like, you listen to some of the people on some of the shows that I've heard, mainly Talksport, who talk shit. Oh, Richard Arnold, Ralph Ranick's come in as a consultancy. What does that actually mean? Well, one, why do you need to know? And two, if he's doing what he's meant to do as a consultant, it's irrelevant.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Neil, I'll come to you. Obviously, with Eric Ten Hag coming in, Ralph Ranick moving into a more natural job for him, maybe even Paul Mitchell coming in. Realistically, how long are you giving this project? You know, say in 2 years' time, we're seeing no results, we're still in the same place. How long can you give it before you think, you know, this club really is doomed?
Well, I've gone on. I've said before on a couple of these shows, I think you're looking at 5 years before we're challenging, at least. You know, I think I did a show. I think one of the last shows I did might have been with Stuart, where we sort of got to the conclusion it might be 10 years. I think with Ten Hag, the club is at such a low point in terms of, and I mean this from top to bottom, in terms of off the field, on the field, behind the scenes, whatever. This is the lowest I've seen the club. And I remember us getting relegated. So this is... I want to see some sort of progression. First of all, if Ten Hag gets them playing for the badge, that's progression at the moment. If Ten Hag gets them running around a bit, because they ain't doing that much, mate. You know, this walking football for the over 50s. We couldn't win a game of that at the moment, and all we're doing is walking around. And these are meant to be finely tuned athletes. We couldn't win a game of football against the over 50s at walking football. My problem with Ten Hag, I want to know what he's doing. I want to know what he's. I want to see something tangible from him. I want to see results, and I don't understand why. If we could get Paul Mitchell in, and that's a massive if. If is a huge word just for 2 letters. Don't get me wrong on this one. If we could get someone like Paul Mitchell, why do we need a Ten Hag? And we've got all these consultants, and sometimes you get too many chefs and all that sort of spoil the pot and all that sort of stuff. And I do worry that's the way we're going. We clearly need a director of football. We've been saying this since my learned colleagues are in nappies. We need a director of football. And we all know the one we want. We could all probably put 2 or 3, but we want one that Ten Hag wants, someone that he wants to work with, a bit like they do in the NFL.
But isn't that what John is though? John's the director of football. Am I right?
Well, I don't think John Murtaugh could direct traffic. Never mind football.
Obviously you got to give him a chance. All the technical players that we have right now in the academy, right? That a lot of that is due to him. Like literally, he stole a lot of Man City's. If you know about him, he stole a lot of Man City's coaches and things like that. And the setup that we have now, the Hannibal's, the Fernandez from Real Madrid, all these little technical players. And you have to remember when he got a chance to speak, he said about how he envisions when he got the job that Man United are a free flow and attacking football team, right? And at that time we had Oli. So obviously he was hinting more towards the future. That's what he would like to see. I'm not writing him off yet, because behind the scenes he's shown that he's able to listen and he's a bit different, if that makes sense. So I'm not writing him off yet.
No, that's a fair point. Like you said, you've delved into more of this than clearly I have. But what I'm saying is, so if we've got Murtaugh, why do we need Ranić? Where does Ranić fit in with all this? And surely the decision maker at the club is going to be it should be Ten Hag now moving forward. I can't believe he hasn't took the job unless he's got the power to do exactly what he wants to do. Rather than this, what we've done in the past is we tried to sign this player, we tried to sign that player, we couldn't, we couldn't get the players in that we wanted. And this goes back, Mourinho did a list of players and we hardly ever got the players that he wanted. We need Ten Hag to be allowed to do the job. And if that is what Ranić has suggested, open heart surgery, then let him get on with it. Just let him get on with it. And we have to back his decisions. So when you're asking to see an impact, I'd just like to see Ten Hag putting his stamp on the club, whatever that is, putting his stamp on the club, and all the teams playing the same way. So it helps the progression up from the youth, from the juniors into the youth, into the first team squad. So they all know what they're doing. They all know the way it plays. And let's see if Ten Hag can have an influence on the club from top to bottom and not just be a first team coach. That's what I'd like to see from Ten Hag. And then, like Mr. Ton has said, working in conjunction with Murtagh, who's clearly doing a lot more in the background than I was aware of. And that's just my ignorance on that one. So I do, I will bow to those that know a lot more about that side of it. I just do my shouting about the games. James will tell you that. Some of the private messages I've sent James over the couple of years I've known him are quite disturbing when I look back on them. But I just want to see if the club has to be ripped apart and if the club has to take a step back, then so be it. But I want to see some progression. I just want to see some passion in the shirt. There's two people on this panel wearing the shirt tonight who showed more passion tonight during this show than after. 8 or 9 of those players did out on the pitch tonight.
I think what I read, Neil, from someone who knows the club quite well, is Ranić's been brought in to look at the club as a whole entity. John Murtagh is going to be the link between the head of youth and the first team in terms of making sure that pathway is continual and is always open. And then, from what was in the article I read, that Erik ten Hag is always likes to work with the technical director. Because I read that from Edwin van der Sar, and Paul Mitchell will be that link for him between Erik ten Hag putting forward his demands to Paul Mitchell, who will then go to the club with that to get the relevant player or whatever he wants to be brought in. And he will be that sort of bounce to guy. So he will alleviate some of the pressure off of Ten Hag in that respect, but he will still have overall control. But Paul Mitchell will be that sounding board for him. So even though it seems like you've got a lot of chiefs, they're all actually doing separate things, which will still work encompassing for the club.
Where does that leave Darren Fletcher then? Because he's technical director at the moment.
Oh. Yeah,
well, he shouldn't be technical director. He shouldn't be that.
No,
he's more of a coach.
I've got all the time in the world for Darren Fletcher for what he did as a club, but that doesn't mean that he should be director of football.
No. And absolutely, I 100% agree with that. But would we all agree that if we could get Van der Sar, that has to be a move forward, because that's someone Ten Hag has worked with and been successful with. But where would Van der Sar then? When would a Van der Sar type figure? And I don't know if the answer's within this panel. But where would someone like a Van der Sar or a classic director of football fit into the structure that we've presently got and the structure that we could have in, say, 6 months to a year's time? I'm not expecting you all to answer, anybody to answer that. I think it's a tough question to answer.
I can answer
those
that
are the
right
sort
now.
of things that worry me.
Answer that. That's one of the concerns that I've had with a few of my mates is with us being linked to Paul Mitchell at the moment, right? Because at first there was talk about us getting a number 2 deputy under John. And if you look at Paul's CV, he's overqualified for that role to be somebody's number 2, right? He's overqualified for that. And his experience is higher than the current even number 1. So like I said, he's overqualified for number 2. What could that then mean is that he could either then be technical director, or if I'm correct, I think the guy is, I forgot his first name. I think it's Bowen or something like that. He's right now the head of Man United's recruitment. What that means is that then, because I saw a little report about that Paul Mitchell could probably take that role. It is sort of technical director, sort of slash head of recruitment, head of the youth. So he could take that role, but it would either one of the jobs, the roles that he's been linked to, someone's gonna leave their post. That's what it means to me. And then he would oversee everything else underneath that, which underneath that will be obviously we got rid of the 2 scouts last week and there was one left, which is the head of that department, head of all of them at the moment. His name, I think it's Mick Cook. And that's to deal with the data side. So I'm assuming then whoever takes charge of that will be in control of all of that. Which is, you bring someone like Paul in, and the report said that he wants to bring in his own people as well, his scouts and things like that. So it is, like I said, that the technical director / head of recruitment role, that's probably the 2 roles. I can't see the number 2, him being somebody's number 2. I personally can't see it.
So the whole thing needs to settle down then, doesn't it? Because at the moment, I'm not saying we're putting square pegs in round holes, but the whole thing needs to be better structured than it clearly is at the moment. And like I said, if it takes 6 months, if it takes 12 months for people to come in, I just hate the thought that it's going to be another season where we're waiting for it. But if based on the last 3 or 4 games and based on most of the season, to be honest, I just want Ten Hag to bring some pride back in the shirt. And if you can bring that back, then the fans will react to that. Because at the moment, I mean, it's really tough to watch. It's really tough to watch. I'll never predict Man United losing a game.
No.
But one of the reasons I didn't, if anybody asked me straight out, what do you think the score's going to be? I would have blanked the question. Because in my heart of hearts, I'm thinking we could get, and we should have got demolished tonight, to be honest. They had the run of the. It was like they had 12 players and we had 9.
Yeah, it was not pretty
viewing.
viewing.
That's shocking.
Yeah, it's been like that for a year now, hasn't it? Which is the worst part about it. But I think I'm going to end it there. There's not too much more we can really speak on. So Neil, I'll hand the floor to you because I know you had something to say for the last 30 seconds.
Right, just a quick one. I don't know how much all of you know, but I know there's some people watching and some people who might watch this in the future. But my mum's been desperately poorly. She got diagnosed with cancer and she's riddled with cancer now. And she's had a massive operation just to try and extend her life. So I just want to say, and I really mean this. I know I come across as a bit of a dick, but I really mean this. To all of you out there that have said something, and to all of you that have have sent me messages privately, I just want to say thanks. I really, really mean it. Thanks, because it's desperate times for my family at the moment, and you lot have been amazing. That's all I've got to say. Because I get all emotional about stuff like that.
Listen, stay strong. I know what it's like. I lost my mum when I was at 25 of cancer, so trust me, it's not cancer could
It's
be
tough.
one of the. It's trust me.
Well, I had it myself, and with my mum getting it, it's just broken my heart. But I like to say thanks. I love you all.
No, sending my love to you and your family, man. Sending all my love
same
to
to
you and
him.
your family, honestly.
Yeah, it's much bigger than football, isn't it? Sort of takes a back seat. But yeah, keep those messages coming into Neil. He needs them. So keep up what you're doing. Nice to know that we've got a community here. But we'll bring an end to the show on that note. Massive thank you for my panel for joining me. Obviously, not easy talking about United right now. I don't think anyone really wants to talk about them. But brighter times are coming. I promise you. Well, I can't promise you that, but let's hope so. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for getting your comments in. It's always massively appreciated. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe. But until next time, we'll see you later.